Hey, it's Kellen.
Tyson here.
And of course I am.
And on today's current game, we're going to be going over the wall and the government shutdown and our thoughts.
This is Diversified Game.
A podcast giving entrepreneurial advice from a diverse and inclusive perspective with Kellen.
He may agree, he may oppose, and it's more than just race, it's about, ideas.
Tyson.
When you're going against the odds, you've got to be creative, you've got to innovate, you've got to stand out.
And AL.
Focus more on execution and application and less on excuses.
So, let the game begin.
Well, we got over 800,000 people who aren't getting paid, who work for the government, supposed to be middle-class citizens, and if they get too broke, they can't get housing or food stamps either because those are not being dispersed real soon. So what are our thoughts? My thoughts are you guys better guard your houses real well because this is going to be like a movie. Trump is going from reality show to movies, chaos, straight up anarchy, and get ready for it. We're going to get a purge, man.
It's like the purge, man.
It's the start of the purge. That's what it sounds like and feels like. But on the flip side of that, what I do want to talk about is I saw there was a couple that was actually both employed by the government, and they, after only like 3 weeks of not having a check, now they were doing a GoFundMe. They had the news covering them and everything, and they were talking about they had to sell their appliances and things like that. And while I don't know anyone's pockets, but they look to be between the ages of 38 and 45, both with government jobs for multiple years. And my first thought was, you guys don't have anything saved?
Hey, Ty,
you sound like America, bro.
You sound like Dave Ramsey.
It's America, bro.
You literally, you've only missed one, maybe two checks. Like, you don't have anything saved at all that can get you through this time. You don't even have credit cards to get you through this time. You're telling me either all your cards are maxed out or you don't have any cards, which, if you don't have any cards, I mean, if you have decent enough credit and you have an income, you can claim that. You probably could get a couple of credit cards, at least $500 to $1,000 to carry you through. But to go on GoFundMe, start having to sell appliances, you don't have anything saved at all?
Nah, I don't know about that one. Yeah, we don't know that situation. It could be school loans. They could be all types of stuff.
It could be all types of things, but I mean, that's scary to me as someone who's 31. And I know when I was in financial services, you talk about this a lot, but when people get, 40 plus years old and you can't put your hands on $10,000 cash should you need it, it's alarming because in this scenario, you have two government workers for multiple years that can't do that. What does that say? Either them living outside of their means or having a bunch of debt, or is there some fallacy that the government is selling us that they're paying people well and they're allowing them to get into these homes and things like that they can't afford, and now our colors are being shown as the United States goes. Our colors are being shown that we really maybe aren't taking as good a care of government workers as people believe.
Well, let me say, when they say most Americans are one paycheck from being broke, they ain't lying. And Dave Ramsey was saying what you were saying about a month ago. He was like, how are people already claiming bankruptcy when they haven't missed a check yet? And if they, and maybe it's one check, but one check can go a long way if, you got kids, you got, your wife, if you're traveling an hour to get to work, and that's after dropping off kids at a daycare and in a busy city. So it depends on what city you're in, because I know Dave Ramsey lives in Tennessee, but if you're in New York, you're in LA, you're in Seattle, it costs you X amount of dollars just to get to work, and then you got to park. And everybody's situation is different, but it shows how credit hungry. We're so greedy, and you know, maybe they don't believe in credit cards. Maybe they maxed them all out.
Right.
But you know, the GoFundMe, that's the American way too. AL, hey, somebody else fund my life.
Yeah, I'm not knocking that. Yeah, nah, for sure. Get it how you live, yo. You got to get creative, especially when there's
it's not that I'm even knocking it, but I'm saying I'm looking at it from the perspective of like it's literally been one check out. It's been one, maybe two at this point that we're talking about it, checks, and like you're already selling appliances out of your house, a GoFundMe, like, so you got your check.
Perhaps they're thinking ahead.
Maybe they're thinking ahead. Yeah, that's true. Maybe they're thinking ahead. You are correct, AL. But the way that they talked about it in the news story, they really talked about it like, listen, right now it's about to be the Hunger Games in our house. And
well, I mean, you know, that's what the media is. That's what the media is doing. What the media does, get us riled up.
Yeah, that is true. So that was kind of my initial thought, and then the second thought was, you know, thinking about the 45. I don't know how I feel about saying the president, but 45. And you know, his constituents and all of these people who aren't missing meals, which, by the way, the whole McDonald's, Burger King thing and the White House thing, cool. The players liked it. Apparently, it just looked a little funny, but, you know, however it works, it works. With looking at how they're still eating, they're still okay. They're still fine. They're not starving. They're not going through it. Why is it that we can allow the position of president, whether it was Obama for 17 days, which was, by the way, a far nobler cause, to shut down the government and say, hey, we really need to figure out this healthcare situation to take care of as many Americans as possible, versus, you know, what my opinion of the wall is, which is it would be a wasted resource, in my opinion. Why is it that you can gamble with lives that aren't your own? And we see it with the military. You gamble with lives that aren't your own. But in this scenario, you're gambling with people on our soil that you're saying, hey, we can cut off your check because we're not getting our way. But by the way, we're still getting fed. We're still eating. We're still good. Why is it that our government operates that way? And haven't seen it as a huge problem before, but now I am seeing it as a huge problem, because if I was still in the military, like, what would happen?
Because there's bad people on both sides. That's why, and they're selfish. Because if you really think about $5 billion, government spends that on anything. They could do that on toilet seats, you know, and it wouldn't mean anything. There's bad people on both sides. And Nancy Pelosi, a real mobster, real gangster. I mean, whatever. She need to have a rap album, mixtape, just, you know, with everybody, Harry O, everyone, because she's a real one, you know, and she won't budge. And you know, it's a game they play with people's lives. But correction, his constituents are hurting the most, because those are the people that have the majority of those jobs and are in those positions. And, you know, we know in Kentucky, they're mad that they voted
I mean, his
for him.
direct party, like Congress and all that, they're not his cronies there.
Well, you know when this would change? This would change if they stopped Congress and the Senate and the mayor's checks and everybody else's. And, you know, so if everybody knows. Checks. Yeah, but also play with these checks, because it would really get personal for me that every resident in America is paid through the government. Every resident, that residents run the hospital as far as labor. They are the cheap, almost free labor for the hospital, because the government pays the bill. So if they stopped paying residents which medicine gets their money first. They're smart. But if they stop saying, you know what, we don't have any more money to pay residents, you would have hospitals have to shut down. Then the people might start to revolt and be at that White House or Mar-a-Lago and even at Nancy Pelosi's personal house too. And on both sides, like, y'all need to open some stuff up. Think about somebody right now could be in the ocean and the Coast Guard can't get to them. You know what I mean? Yeah, somebody, we're going to find out later that people have died and that they could have been saved only if this did happen. So they're playing with people's lives, and that's blood on their hands. I hate to say it, but to feed over 800,000 people and more, man, give that man his money, because y'all not like y'all are gonna open up schools with it, not like you were gonna pay the student loan debts with it, So maybe just give him his money for peace sake, because this ain't the time to be playing with anybody's money. Do that in 2020. Do that for another issue. I know he was offering DACA and all this. I mean, that man is going to kill his family's legacy by the time he leaves here. Whether he gets arrested, his family gets arrested, whatever the case may be, he's going to wash himself out because, of the things he's doing. But they're playing with too many lives right now, and it's going to get funky real soon.
Well, and I'm really looking at it like he is playing with far too many lives, but then too, this man's really hell-bent on getting immigrants out eventually, one way or another, whether he's in office or not. That's really what he's trying to do, because let's just say he doesn't get voted in again, and with the DACA thing, he was giving them 3 years to get their paperwork in order and things like that, which seems like ample time until you look at who's the deciding party on whether or not they even get the papers. So this man's buying time to deny time. I'll give them 3 years to get their stuff together, but what you already know is I get to decide whether or not their stuff is together enough for my liking. So it's a setup, and even if he's not in office and someone else is, if the policy's in place that they only had 3 years, well, they still have to abide by that until the law is changed or until something else is done about it. So you're still going to be getting rid of a lot of people, or moving or forcing a lot of people out to countries they've never probably even been to. And they don't know anything else besides the United States. But I think that's another battle for another day. But yeah, I mean, open it up. I do still think the wall's a wasted resource based on the numbers and statistics that go along with immigration, how people get here and how people are staying here. But it's better not to play with people's lives, because this is really, it's really looking like the Purge / Hunger Games is right around the corner, and all the officials are really the ones that are going to end up being the safest, because they're going to have their guards, they're going to have their CIAs, they're going to have these things, and it's going to be the average everyday citizen walking down the street that now can't hold a cheeseburger because someone's about to run up on them to take the cheeseburger because they haven't been paid and they don't have any money to get food.
Yeah. AL, I didn't want to cut you off, and so, if you had something to say, please chime in.
No, I mean, it's all peculiar at the end of the day. I'm very, very curious about about what's going to happen, like state of affairs for United States. I was in jest speaking with somebody the other day. I was like, this wall goes up, like, does that mean that the United States has all the drugs that it needs for the next few years, or and like has the drug pipeline been figured out? And you know what? Yeah, we don't need any drugs from anybody that borders us, and we're just gonna bring it in from other places. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, maybe they say right now it's kind of easier to get things through. You got hungry people guarding the walls. I mean, they looking the other way, possibly. So this is the time. We'll hear about that in another documentary. 10 years down the road. And whoever puts that out, watch your guard your grill, because you know, this type of information is, oh, hold on, we're not supposed to even think like that. But, you know, it come from the George Carlin school of things where, hey, we question the government because we know they were, you know, bought a long time ago. But yeah, the wall, I think, is a wasted resource, too. I think so many, you know, once, if it's built completely, we would be the ones jumping over it because we're going to need to go over there before they need to come over here off top. That wall is not going to do anything that they say it's going to do. We need immigrants. He needs immigrants. Look at his wives and ex-wives, you know.
And companies.
Yeah, and companies, you know. He knew nobody was signing up for that foolishness. He was spitting, you know, so his game is, let me import it because in America, folks might have an opinion, and I need someone who, you know, will just kind of go with the flow and look pretty. But, you know, yeah, I think this wall is a wasted resource, but if it means 800,000 plus people getting their paychecks and their resources is even more than the paycheck. You know, they're talking about landlords with Section 8. They're kicking people off. I've seen, I know some daycares that are stopping their services. Like, wait, if we're not getting paid, that means so many families, it's quit my job because I don't have daycare, which can only make the economy. It's not like these jobs are, you know, the best jobs out there anyway. This is your everyday just gig that you're trying to make it, and so it's going to impact millions of people in a negative way. And the powers that be still get their check. And some of those, I think it was here locally, one of the senators of Congress, I think it was the senator, they said, are you going to donate your check like the rest of them? And he was like, hey, I got bills to pay like everyone else, you know?
Right.
I thought maybe, y'all tripping. I thought Jigaboo Jones made it to Senate for a second because I'm like, man, this senator got a Jerry curl and whatnot, man. I got bills myself, you know? So it's crazy, America, and that's why you guys know, man, these domestic problems, I don't even see them. I'm international because I gotta understand that it's coming. The worst is coming.
So now, I guess this is the question I want to pose now, thinking that all of the trickle effect, the trickle down effect, the trickle side, lateral, upside down effect of not only do you have food stamps being affected, you have Section 8 being affected, which means loss of housing. You have daycare being affected, which means loss of child care, which then makes it hard to get to work. So even if you're not a government employee, like your life can be affected and you can end up out on the street. Does to get people to turn parties? Because like I believe we're all or similarly like fiscally conservative, socially liberal people. But even us now, we're like, just give them the wall. Like, we're like, just go ahead, do it, bro. Like, if that's what you got to do it, because the greater good is just give the whiny man his wall, and you'll help the greater good. And we don't necessarily always agree with Trump or like Trump that much. I'll speak for myself personally, because maybe y'all are like, yeah, I'm Trump since day one. Was good. As a person, I think he's funny, but as a government official, I think he's a joke, which are two different things. Right? I don't need a joke as a government official, but I don't mind a funny person around me. So when I look at it like that, like, I see flipping parties. Like, some people that were more liberal before, he's going to get them to flip party because now people are pretty much just saying liberals, just give him the wall. Like, stop holding him up. Just let it go. And if the people that side with you are telling you to do something, you don't do what they want, aren't they liable to flip parties? Because
I don't believe in any party.
This. Well,
okay. I don't believe in any party and straight independent, and my party never gets to be at the big table, and they do that intentionally. And having worked, or interned, I'll say, let me be very clear, interned on the Hill, I see the game. I mean, I saw it firsthand. I see the same people who are arguing with each other in the day are drinking wine on our dime at night, having a good old time on
Right.
both sides, friends, going to each other's parties, paying thousands of dollars, going to the houses. I mean, they kick it real big. And then, I mean, again, like AL had said, the media does what the media does. And if you believe it, that's why I like the independent media. I don't watch CNN. I see the agendas at Fox, CNN. I watch the independents. I mean, Al Jazeera and RT, Advise Show and Lovely T. I'm real self-serving sometime on what I watch, but I just know it's all a game. So secure your bag. So if it gets too bad, you can take a little vacation dip. Like if you look at immigrants, especially Jews, and you can look at Chinese too. Whenever it gets too bad in their area, they move and they make home wherever home is, wherever that dollar can roam. So I don't get too comfortable, like someone typically from California or New York in one spot, because I understand that, man, chaos can come and I gotta dip, man. That California coast ain't that serious. When your governor always overspends the budget, the budget is never balanced.
So then, are we looking at saying politicians break kayfabe? Is really what it is? Like, are we watching, the House and Senate and all of them? Like, are we watching them and it's that kayfabe right there? And then really, when they break out, they're like, "Oh, hey, what's up? How you doing, Sean? Good to see you here." He's like, "Yeah, man, it's great." And they're like, "Oh, shoot, we got to." Right? They're like, "Oh, we got a meeting."
Yeah.
Oh shoot, let's get up in that meeting. Hey, you're da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like, is it kayfabe in there? And are we just watching WWE? Are we watching WWE happen in our legislative branch, in our executive branch, in our judicial branch? Are we just watching WWE? Just we find out Vince McMahon is really like behind the whole writing. Like, is that what's going on?
I wouldn't be surprised.
To me, that's what it is.
Like, let's just put it that way. And Cal, you brought up a good point. And this is like related, but unrelated. But the folks over at Scientology, they pumped the government because I believe they sent in a team that was infiltrating some of our intelligence services, and they found out that these intelligence services were partying on taxpayer dollars, and they used that as leverage to make Scientology a recognized religion and nonprofit religion.
Yep, that would make sense. Now,
that was their wild card.
It's just a game. It's
That's what I'm saying. There's a process for everything, and you're either going in through the front door, or you finding your way in through a window. But it seems like no matter what, as long as I land in the house, that's all people really seem to care about nowadays. Right. And speaking of houses, this leads into my other thing. There's a lot of people that are anti-gun. When this stuff starts getting out of control, how many of those people are still going to be anti-gun when it comes to protecting their homes, themselves, or whatever from this purge thing? And I feel like this is really, it's one of those like daisy chain effect things. It's like, I think I found the linchpin, and if I pull this out, I can get people to switch parties. I can get people to be like, you know what, forget the Second Amendment. We're good with that, because now we've got people running up in our houses because we're government officials, running up in our houses, taking stuff because they know we ain't missing a check. So they're coming here, they're grabbing our stuff, and they're going back to their families to feed their families. And they're against us anyways because we didn't just give the $5 billion to get the wall so they could get their stuff together. Like, I feel like this is going to be the thing that starts snowballing, and all of a sudden we all start agreeing on policy. So I don't know if that's good or bad. If we get in a scenario where we all start agreeing on policies and just go, yeah, I get it. Would that be good or bad?
Yeah, true that.
When you say though, when you bring up the gun issue, you got to remember how much money the NRA pumps in the government, and they like bring more of this chaos. more gun sales,
Right.
get everybody scared.
Well, I was on that same line of logic too, Kel. I was like, yo, what if this is part of an even larger narrative and agenda? You know what I mean? That all ties into population control, gun control. And say, yo, you have all these people go crazy, and when it's time to, grab the guns, ain't no guns to grab. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody's just rounded up like cattle. FEMA camp. Let's go.
Well, since we've all been pretty much born, they've had more guns than people. So there's always something. Even if you go grab a busy bone musket gun, straight, there's
black powder.
Yeah, you can only shoot one gun at a time unless you're, Steven Seagal or Jason Statham or one of them cats. So there's enough guns, but it's fear mongering. I refuse to even be part of it because I'll say in the rest of the world they're laughing at us. And when they don't have guns, and when they have war, they go to war. It's with rocks sometimes, and people are fighting for their freedom.
Word.
But yeah, and eventually they get it. But America, we're just in a crazy time. Yeah, I don't think people should be worried more than their paycheck, because we know that martial law is a real thing. So if chaos breaks out, martial law, Trump would love that. Start with Chicago. He said that before he got into office,
Right.
That was to control us. Think if he had to control Kentucky, Ohio, and all these other places, and those people are packing, and they ain't getting their guns taken without a civil war. So that's probably when he throws his Hail Mary and says, hey, man, why Blue matters? CPR firm, we really need your help. What can we do? We've been we've been hearing the Diversified Game.
Yeah, exactly. We heard you.
Yeah.
We think some of your policies might work. Now, you said something interesting. You said you don't even acknowledge the fear mongering. So let me just frame that a little bit, because not acknowledging it doesn't mean it's not existent. And
not being impacted to the point where I'm going to grab, a whole arsenal. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. You're not afraid of it, but you acknowledge that it's happening. Because I want to be very careful, because I was like, oh man, that sounds like the perfect thing for a racist to point back to us and go, oh well, he said, since he doesn't even acknowledge it. I mean, it doesn't exist. So therefore, racism, what's that? I don't acknowledge racism. I don't acknowledge sex. I don't acknowledge all the isms. That doesn't exist. I just wanted to clarify, because some people don't.
Please, thank you.
Some people don't catch
thank
that.
You.
And
Yeah.
I'm like,
thank you. And I don't want to. And I don't want somebody to think that I don't feel their pain or impact, because we've all, started somewhere. And where I'm at now, you might see me just racing the sports car and be like, oh man, that's why he ain't tripping. But I'm tripping if you're tripping. We don't need to go get the whole arsenal and buy into getting all the firearms. Well, if you got a little extra money, sit on it. And save it. You might need it. It won't rot.
Because I feel like if we just have to realize fear mongering only works on the afraid. So if we keep level heads, or can pull our heads together and just be like, hey, let's just calm down for a second. Let's breathe. There's people that get into a house that's on fire, or in a house that's on fire, and they remember, stop, drop, roll. If you're going to touch the doorknob from the heat source, grab something to open up the doorknob. If not, you're going to burn your hand, and then you're not going to get out. And then you have the panickers. You have the ones who are going to be inside the house with the fire with the stop, drop, roller, who's like, hey, stop, drop, and roll. And they're going to be up there inhaling all the smoke. They're going to run to the door. They're going to grab the doorknob. They're going to burn their hand. They're going to have burnt flesh on the doorknob. And now that person is going to be almost a lost cause, because you're trying to save them, but they're too much in a panic and in a frantic stage that they can't even be saved. So now they're going to get lost. And if you try to save them, you may perish. But if you leave them, now you have to live with the guilt. So maybe you live with the guilt. But also, maybe you're like me, and you're like, hey, I did everything I needed to do.
but also remember this. AL said in the beginning This is America, and we're in January. Let's not remember it was only almost a month ago. Everybody was shopping in droves. Take that stuff back. Amazon, Walmart, all of them will take their stuff back. If you need money, take all that junk back. The kids are tired of it anyway by now. I don't celebrate it, so I didn't have that issue. But take
Bezos
that
won't be
stuff
hurting
back. Yeah, they won't. They played with it enough. I mean, take it back like you guys used to take back your dresses after going to the ball, after going to the prom. Take that stuff back, get your money back, and see what you can invest in, maybe overseas or wherever, and get a side gig, another hustle. Because everybody was happy at Macy's. I was just passing by the mall and just buying up everything, knowing that this shutdown could happen.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think Al always heard me. I think Cal may have heard me. Fate favors the prepared. And right now, I don't know what America's prepared for.
So I think this is a good place to stop our dialogue for this episode and allow you, the listeners, to join the conversation and keep the dialogue going with us online.
You can do so by visiting our social media at Facebook, Diversified Game Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter, Game Diversified, online, diversifiedgame.com. In your life with the people around you, or join our Patreon and get some nice perks for being involved.
If you found a nugget and or liked today's episode, you might as well leave a review. And if you leave a review, you might as well share it. If you share it, you might as well subscribe. And as always, thanks for your support.
Thanks for getting in the game and listening to the Diversified Game Podcast with Kellen, Tyson, and AL. The #1 show pairing entrepreneurship with diverse and inclusive perspectives like wine and cheese, bagel and lox, fish and grits. Be sure to visit diversifiedgame.com for all the good stuff. Join in the conversation and discover more content.